Remember the very first time you described a software feature in plain English and your AI assistant just built it? I mean, you know that rush, that absolute complete disbelief, that incredible feeling of, wow, I can literally make anything now. That was the pure magic of early vibe coding. And it was real. Honestly, it was wonderful. But, well, as it turns out, that was just the party before the real work actually began.
So that begs the question, is vibe coding dead? The stark reality check we're unpacking today is that the fun, chaotic, kind of loose era of vibe coding was really only phase one. What we're experiencing right now is a massive, permanent paradigm shift in how software is built and, honestly, more importantly, how it's managed. All right, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll cover the death of vibe coding. Then, the rise of agentic engineering. Third, spec-driven development. Fourth, the managed services gap. And finally, we'll wrap up with a 5-part playbook. Let's dive in.
Section 1. The death of vibe coding. Let's look at why phase 1 is officially a wrap. It's actually wild how fast this entire evolution played out. Picture this. Back in February 2025, AI pioneer Andrej Karpathy coined the term vibe coding. This was right after a 630-line Python script ran 50 experiments overnight without a single human touch. It was all about describing what you want, letting the AI generate it, and just iterating on the fly. But fast forward just a few months to October 2025, and industry leaders were already shifting their habits completely. Then, in February 2026, almost exactly 1 year to the day after he invented the term, Karpathy announced that the era of vibe coding was effectively over. By April 2026, the market was already showing this massive structural gap.
And here is exactly why Karpathy called it. He pointed out that programming via LLM agents is absolutely becoming the default workflow. But, and this is a massive but, except with more oversight and scrutiny. The industry's desire here is crystal clear, right? We want to keep the massive leverage of AI agents, but we absolutely cannot compromise a single ounce of software quality. Throwaway scripts are fine for fun, actually they're great for fun, but production-level software, that requires serious rigor.
Section 2. The rise of agentic engineering. Welcome to the new era. Okay, so what does this new term actually mean for us? Agentic engineering is defined as orchestrating AI agents with human oversight. It's an art, it's a science, but I want you to focus heavily on 3 absolutely crucial human elements here: direction, judgment, and taste. Look, agents can generate thousands of lines of code in a matter of seconds, but right now, they completely lack direction, judgment, and taste. That is exactly what you, the human, are bringing to the table. You aren't writing the code directly 99% of the time anymore. You are the overseer.
Get this. Boris Cherny, the head of Anthropic's Claude Code, made a really bold prediction in 2026. He said the job title software engineer is going to start disappearing, basically getting absorbed into hybrid roles. Cherny himself actually revealed that he hasn't written a single line of code by hand since October 2025. 100% of his production code is generated by AI. But here's the kicker. He hates the term vibe coding. He finds it totally counterproductive because it implies, sloppiness. Engineers at Anthropic aren't just vibing, they'd probably cringe at that word. They are entirely focused on reviewing, directing, and governing the AI that's doing all the busy work.
Section 3. Spec-driven development. This is all about building rigor.
Maria Mansurova, writing in Towards Data Science, gave us a really practical illustration of this. She built a fully functional fitness tracking web app in just 4.5 hours using this new methodology. Under the old vibe coding method, you write a short prompt, you wait, you discover it's completely wrong, you iterate in the same chat window, the AI loses context, and eventually you just throw your hands up and start over. We've all literally been there. It just doesn't scale. Spec-driven development, or SDD, completely inverts this workflow. It relies on externalized constitutions and persistent context that is safely stored in repositories rather than just kept alive in some fragile, temporary chat window.
So before a single line of AI code is ever generated, a developer has to produce what is called a constitution. These are structured markdown documents securely stored right in the project repository. You absolutely need a mission document outlining the why of the project. You need a tech stack document outlining the how. And you need a roadmap detailing the what and when. Only after this architecture is validated through review, and sometimes they even use a second AI agent for a critique pass, does any actual implementation begin. Once you have your constitution locked in, you enter this beautifully disciplined, continuous cycle. Plan, implement, validate.
And crucially, the specification document isn't just written once and forgotten, it's constantly updated during the cycle. It acts as the ultimate source of truth for both the human developers and the AI agents. The role of the developer shifts entirely towards steering the ship and making those high-level architectural decisions.
And let's be super clear about something. This workflow isn't just academic theory. Major industry players are rapidly formalizing these methodologies right this second. Simon Willison published an evolving guide to agentic engineering patterns. JetBrains, teaming up with DeepLearning.ai, actually built a formalized course specifically on spec-driven development. GitHub even released SpecKit, which is an open-source tool that brings this exact STD workflow into any agent environment. Things like automated testing, advanced planning, and disciplined version control, they aren't optional anymore. They are literally the very definition of agentic engineering.
Section 4. The Managed Services Gap. Let's look at the market signal here.
In April 2026, KPMG dropped a Managed Services Outlook survey that revealed a frankly staggering number: 90%. 90% of executives now consider managed services absolutely essential for delivering agentic AI at scale. The gap between an enterprise saying, "Hey, we want agentic AI," and actually being able to build, govern, and maintain it internally, it's massive. It's a canyon. But here is a serious warning for any MSP executives tuning in. Customers do not want basic Copilot implementations anymore. They aren't looking for someone to just provision, compute, or manage basic SLAs. They are desperately needing partners who speak the language of functional specification before implementation even starts. They need structured oversight and repeatable governance frameworks to validate what these AIs are actually spitting out. And perhaps most importantly, they want deep vertical domain expertise. If you're building a healthcare app with AI, your human-in-the-loop better deeply understand healthcare compliance, right? Otherwise, they can't effectively guide the agent's taste and judgment. Section 5, the 5-part playbook. Let's talk strategy. All right, here is your action plan. Step 1, develop a spec-driven development practice internally. Train your team, build out those templates. Step 2, build governance frameworks. You absolutely need documented, repeatable processes for how you review AI-generated code and handle things like context decay. Step 3, invest in domain expertise. Listen, your competitive moat is no longer which AI model you use, it's the accumulated vertical knowledge that makes your specifications drastically better than a generalist. Step 4, offer constitution workshops. And Step 5, stay current with the practitioner community. Follow Simon Willison's guides, take the JetBrains courses. You have to transition your mindset from selling commodity tools to selling vital governance and strategy. I want to deep dive into Step 4 for just a second, because it's a real game changer, the Constitution Workshop. This needs to be your lead service. Instead of offering time and materials development right out of the gate, position the upfront specification and architecture work as a standalone, high-value, fee-based service. Sit down with your client, define the mission, define the tech stack, map out the roadmap before any agent writes a single line of code. Charging for this upfront workshop instantly differentiates a serious MSP from your standard run-of-the-mill AI integrators. It proves to the client that you have the discipline required for real agentic engineering. I want to wrap up this explainer with a somewhat provocative final thought. The era of vibe coding gave us an incredible taste of the magic. It was fun, but the era of agentic engineering is what's going to define the actual tangible business results. MSPs that can make the transition from just vibing to strict specifications and from mere execution to high-level oversight, they are going to capture one of the largest market opportunities we have ever seen in tech. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Will you find yourself at the very center of this new market, or will you be stuck selling yesterday's answer to tomorrow's question? Evaluate your readiness today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.